Hi guys, this is Laura. It is October 10th, 2021, and I just wanted to record some of me talking about this video, and then we can show it at the environmental club meeting tomorrow. This year I'm working on the member education committee, and this is what I wanted to do for the first day. So I made this website in June of 2019 after doing the magazine project for Miss Wallace's class in 8th grade. I did my project on climate change, obviously, and I thought that I wanted to kind of share the information more because I thought it was really interesting and valuable. So I made flyers with a QR code to this website and put them up around Mound. And yeah, I wanted to share it with you guys. So I'll try to keep this short, hopefully under 10 minutes. But yeah. So first of all, this website has information accurate as of May 2019. But yeah, this is kind of the statement that I based my whole website off of. The effects of climate change will be irreversible by 2030. On this website, in addition to learning about the statistic, you can learn about the various aspects of climate change, Earth's future due to climate change, and what you can do to help. And we've got some images relating to climate change here. This gets a little more technical with the United Nations report on climate change. I totally would encourage you guys to check this link out sometime, so you can kind of read the articles, but yeah. I also cited all of my sources. It took a super long time to get all the citations in there. Okay, so this article was written by me. It's called An Overview of Global Warming. We first have this polar bear. And polar bears have kind of been the face of global warming and climate change because their habitat is melting, which is really, really sad. This is a graph of the minimum Arctic sea ice extent in millions of square kilometers. As you can see, that's decreasing a lot due to climate change. Climate change is heating up the Arctic faster than anywhere else, and sea ice is shrinking 14% per decade. I would go into more detail, but I'm trying to keep this to a good time. But I totally, again, would encourage you guys to read these articles on your own. Next, we've got Smog Season. This was written by Ellen Pruitt. Thanks, Ellen. So basically, smog is due to air pollution, right? Air pollution and smog has tons of problems, specifically health problems. Climate change, you might think that climate change and health aren't related, but climate change causes tons and tons of deaths every year, whether it be due to lung cancer, respiratory issues, heat stroke, whatever. China has really bad smog pollution. That's where I think these pictures were taken. So yeah, that is smog season. Then we've got our organizations that help with climate change. This was written by Greta Piaski, and these are just some good sources if you want to learn more or whatever. So the National Resources Defense Council, IPCC, Sierra Club, Unilever, Patagonia, IKEA, Ceres, Amazon, and Google. While these two are kind of more just for-profit companies, they do have certain sustainability initiatives that I would encourage you to research on your own. Next, we've got political views on climate change. This was written by Savannah Newell 2 years ago. The United Nations Paris Climate Agreement was a huge step in terms of climate change, and it's really important that all the countries stick to their commitments with that. It's a pretty complex agreement, but basically it just states that the countries that signed it will stick to certain targets in order to keep global warming under, I believe it's a 1.5 degrees Celsius. The next one is Arctic oil drilling. This was written by Addison Hodgen. She lives in Iowa now, but I love her, how she started it out. The oil industry is very aggressive and is not afraid to exploit the Earth's resources. Since 1977, the industry has put its sights on the Arctic. The Arctic contains almost 22% of the world's total of oil, or around 412 billion barrels. Although the Arctic would be a treasure trove, it costs $78.60 per barrel to refine and transport, which begs the question, is it really worth it? And then she goes into discussing why it's not actually worth it, because first of all, it would be really expensive. But second of all, the ecological damage that could be caused by it, such as oil spills or just impact on wildlife and pollution, are really huge. For example, I believe this is the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. But yeah. The next one is the strengthening, or a better word, I guess, would be worsening of the refugee crisis due to climate change. This was written by Abby Hollenstein. And this is really sad. So you might be thinking, how are the refugee crisis and climate change related? One way to think about that is why do refugees move? Why are refugees a thing? It's because their place of origin, they can't live there anymore, whether that be due to war, poverty, lack of jobs, policy issues, whatever. It also can be due to climate change or unbearable environmental conditions. So climate change has caused many low-income regions of the world to not be, like, safely livable, I guess. Um, so this is just really sad. I'll try to find one thing that's, like, kinda more specific. So, for example, oh, yeah, this is a good example. The glaciers are melting because we are warming with carbon dioxide and other chemicals in the atmosphere. Many people around the world live within 3 feet of the ocean. If water keeps rising because of this glaciers melting, we would need to reposition 145 million people. So that's just one example of like sea ice and moving due to climate change. This next one is the global mass extinction, written by Annika Hoisington. This is super sad. So you might not think we're in a global mass extinction right now. It seems like everything's like pretty okay, but we are in a mass extinction right now. Um, so like specifically, something that's going on with that is carbon dioxide rates are increasing at record rates. Insects are dying very quickly. Nearly 40% of the world's insects are declining. They're decreasing by 2.5% every year. 500 amphibian species have become endangered or extinct in the last 50 years. Additionally, the number of species that are threatened is about to become 100 million. That is mind-boggling. 100 million different species that are going to be threatened. Like that because of climate change and because of changing conditions. This is the global water crisis, which is very much related to climate change and pollution because of like increased droughts and pollution. So, for example, this picture is just so sad to me that this is the water that kids in Yemen are supposed to drink. Like that's really sad. So these are just some countries that are deeply affected by the water crisis. Then we've got climate change and how it affects natural disasters. Climate change really, really strengthens or worsens natural disasters. Specifically, this would be hurricanes. So this is kind of hard to explain, but hurricanes happen because of interactions between low and high pressure systems, I believe. And sea levels are rising because of glaciers melting, because of the greenhouse effect, and temperatures are also warming. So with warmer temperatures, hurricanes are stronger and more destructive. They're not more frequent, but they're stronger. You can see this with the horrible hurricanes we've been having in the last few years, like Hurricane Katrina. This is just devastating. Then we've got how climate change affects animals. This is really sad because these animals have like done nothing, but cheetahs, giant pandas, sea turtles, elephants, polar bears, monarch butterflies, Adelie penguins, whales, tigers are all affected in different ways by climate change to no fault of their own. Like for example, the decreasing amount of sea ice where whales feed forces whales to migrate further to find food. Like these poor whales have to swim so far because of what humans have done. Their lives are like hard enough already. I don't know. But how climate change affects ecosystems, the Amazon rainforest, the Arctic, the Great Barrier Reef, this coral bleaching, coastal East Africa, and the eastern Himalayas. Specifically, I'd like to spend a minute on the Amazon rainforest. So the Amazon rainforest produces tons and tons of the world's oxygen, and because of droughts and dryness, there have been forest fires in the Amazon rainforest, which that takes away the trees. Another thing is the increased deforestation and usage of land that's happening because of cattle agriculture. They're clearing forests in the Amazon rainforest to have cattle. Which it would be much better if they, had like vegetables or crops there instead of cattle because cattle are so inefficient in terms of land usage. But anyway, all right, I'm at 9 minutes. I'll try to wrap it up pretty quick here. These last 3 tabs I think are really important. So this is current personal effects of climate change, specifically in Minnesota. This is a really great video that I would totally recommend watching. If you only watch one video, I probably would watch this one. Many think climate change won't affect them personally, but this is not at all true. You might be thinking, oh, I live in Minnesota. I'm fine. I'm not going to have hurricanes or rising sea levels or anything. No, we are going to be affected by climate change too. In fact, we already have been. More intense cold winters. Does anyone remember like February of last year? It was brutal, right? Like I had the stuffed animal drive going on and we had to bring the carts of stuffed animals inside and outside. And it was so cold. Like the hairs in your nose would freeze before being outside for like a minute. And this summer has been super warm. I think it's been a record. And then we also had that one day in August where like there is so much pollution and haze and bad air quality that, like, you couldn't see the sun or whatever. Um, but anyway, like, hot summers, you can see how hot it was, like, in September even. We've got instead of getting smaller rainfall spread out over time, rainfall will likely happen less frequently, but with more intensity, which is really bad for agriculture. We also might see here in Minnesota a significant loss of fish habitat and algae blooms. Moving on to agriculture, diet, and climate change. So, some of you guys might know that I've been vegetarian since I haven't eaten a single bite of meat since I think August of 2019. I was vegan from about January of 2020 to January of 2021, but I now am vegetarian again, which being vegetarian is a really great way to make a difference. But like it says here, you don't have to go vegetarian or vegan to make a difference. It's really great if you can just decrease your meat intake, specifically red meat. And this Fox video, he does a great job of explaining like what you can do. I might see if I can find, there's this one graph.
I have to admit that when
it's so helpful. 1 second. This right here. So, annual dietary greenhouse gas emissions. Vegan, vegetarian, doctor recommended, and American. But like the Mediterranean diet also has significantly less emissions, and that just has really significantly decreased like red meat intake. So that's a great one too. Anyway, and this can save land, save water, help with deforestation, etc. I'm almost out of time. Sorry, I'm at almost 12 minutes. Some things you can do. Use energy efficient products, drive less, don't waste water, limit plastic usage, use renewable energy, turn off electronic devices when you're not using them, plant trees, don't let food go to waste, adjust your thermostat, reduce, reuse, recycle, talk to your friends and family about climate change. This video, Why Humans Are So Bad at Thinking About Climate Change, is very interesting and it probably hits home. It hits home for me too, definitely.
of species will be
Anyway, then I have my sources, and to wrap up this video, I want to slow down and say I know that this is really overwhelming. It's like climate change is so, so bad, and people don't believe in it. People don't like get it. And there's so much stuff that I have to do my part and help. And it's really overwhelming and scary about what the future is going to be like. But it's important to recognize that like the smartest people on earth are working on climate change and working on what we can do, and it's not like you have to stop your emissions. Like every single little thing you do helps. And yeah, just don't be overwhelmed by it. It's gonna be okay. But yeah, all right, well, thank you for listening to the video, and yeah, see you guys tomorrow.